from Australia, down under. If you believe it exists, those. It's home to ideas that are fresh, uncensored conversations, usually in the chat room. So if you're around, I'll make my way into it right now. So if you can, please do. It's always good. And it's interactive. It's really keeping our little, program here. It's all about interaction. Important to note is that the station is not beholden to anyone, which means that it doesn't make any money from anyone. Yes. So if you can donate, please do. And if you cannot, it's okay, because things are coming over. Maybe you can tell people about the station. That's good. That's good. It's very good. Okay, so please do that. Today is the 26th of November, 2024, which means we're just 1 month away from Christmas and about 6 weeks from year's end. 2024 will soon be done. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line all the time, and on your smart device to grab it up to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Table to Digital Radio. Archives are free, and that's another good reason to donate, because when was the last time anything has given you anything for free? Anywhere, anything, anywhere, anyhow, anywho. Nobody gives nothing to no one for free. We do. We do. Before we start broadcasting at Radio, we would like to acknowledge the terrific pursuance of the land from which we broadcast every day.
I'm lucky to broadcast from Dark and Jungle Country.
Very good, and I am, of course, in that country, and would like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. Things aren't getting better. They're just not. And I'm not just talking about the political situation. I'm talking about the situation for people on the ground. Just people, just regular people, you and me, everybody, right? Things are not getting better, and I hate to say it, but they're going to get worse. And there's not a lot we can do about it. That's the thing. There's not a lot we can do about it. Because none of the things that should happen are happening. None of the things that could help solve this crisis, push it in the right direction. Cost of living crisis, this is one of them, other things as well. Nothing is happening anywhere. I spoke to also Fiji, I told you, right? And I spoke to an old man there, and he was looking after the horses. It was part of the hotel thing. It was not race horses, it was just horses. It was a half-hour ride for the kids. Like sort of across the golf course. And he obviously was a Fijian native and his life. He said to me, "Look, it is not the rising of the sea level that's worrying him. I mean, it's happening. It's happening in many places there, except in all the islands. What worries him is the storm surge, right? Because he said we've never had storm surges as bad as this." And he said, we probably only have another 20 or 30 years in Fiji. And Fiji is pretty, I mean, they're well above the sea level. But he said, yeah, that's all we have, because the storm surge is so bad that all the beachfront properties and anything that's a bit lower lying is just going to be washed away. So it's once you have sea rise or sea level rises to a certain point, that is not what is going to affect you directly. It's not that. I mean, you can always deal with that. It is the storm surge.
And don't forget that then affects the aquifers, because it displaces the fresh water.
Well, yeah, once salt water gets inland, it does contaminate your freshwater supply, potentially. So it is happening, but the thing is nothing is happening anyway. Cost of living crisis, what you need to do, price fix. You have to price fix. Is anyone price fixing? No one is. Everybody's profiteering. Everybody's profiteering. They're all pointing a finger at you. People are spending more money. No, they don't. They spend more money on the same stuff they need. We've said this many times before, and I don't know how many more times we can say. People are not spending more money on more stuff. They're spending more money on the same stuff. Yeah? except for the people that get these massive bonuses, resources companies, grocery chains, um, banks, telecom, energy suppliers. I mean, it's just unheard of. The profits that people are making, very few people, mind you, are unheard of. This is profiteering at its worst, at the worst time ever. And nothing's being done. The government is not stepping in anywhere in the world. Donald Trump's tariffs will have no. Donald Trump said he's going to put 25% tariff on both Canada and Mexico, right? On all the goods imported. Why? Because he wants them to shut down their borders to illegal immigrants that are crossing both from Canada and from Mexico. Now, I told you before,
a bargaining chip.
It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. Because the thing is this, right? They don't have the resources to do that in the first place. But most importantly, I said this before and I'll say it again, more illegal immigrants are coming from Canada into the States than are coming from Mexico into the States. That's a fact. And good luck trying to patrol. I don't know if you're familiar with the Canadian border, the American-Canadian border. It's heavily wooded. It's almost inaccessible wilderness. And if someone is guiding you through there, even the mountains have no chance of going. It's just not going to happen. And it will have to. Okay, it's my prediction. If the tariffs are going to come in, it will severely damage the American economy and the global economy, but it will severely damage the American economy. Because this is really important, and I will say this one more time, then I'll be shutting up about it. But I want to put it on the record. Donald Trump never had to do anything himself. He doesn't understand how things work. He doesn't understand how complex projects work, because they're always done for him. He was born rich, you have to understand this. He wasn't born poor. He was born rich. He never had to do anything. Dave and I, we've run very, very large complex projects and deals. We've managed big teams of people. We understand the logistics required, the tactical and strategic approaches you need to get things done. It's easy to say something. Right? I'll give you an example. It's easy to say I'm going to deport 10 million people. That's easy to say. Very easy. I can say it all day long. But what are the logistics involved in actually accomplishing that? You have to think it all through because it all has to work. Do you know why the Germans killed so many people in World War II in the concentration camps? Because they had the logistics down pat. What they did, the rerouting of trains and freight, and the building of the facilities, was, from an organizational point of view, was second to none. It was shockingly efficient. It was terrifyingly efficient. The death that they visited upon these people was with the most efficient death machine we've ever come across, in my opinion, on the planet. The most efficient death machine. But it took a lot of doing. It didn't just happen. A lot of doing. And the Russians and the Americans saw that and knew that, and that's why they got a whole bunch of mid-level functionaries and some higher-level functionaries across to their respective countries. The Americans called it Operation Paperclip. The Russians didn't call it anything. They just grabbed people. Well, you call it something. Right? The Americans are obsessed with calling things the names, like code names. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It sounds cool or something. But the organizational effort that was involved with getting this done, like I said, is second to none. And you can't just deport 10 million people just like that. It's not going to happen. If he does it in the 4 years that are allotted to him, I'll be astounded. But, But it really goes to show when someone doesn't have any real life work experience. I've spoken to people, I've interviewed many people, and tomorrow I've spent the whole day interviewing people again for jobs. And a lot of people look really good on paper. Their resumes read like they should be running NASA. Yeah? And if you look at Donald Trump and his accomplishments, oh my God, he's done this, he's done that business, he's done golf course, buildings, blah, 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 blah. But then you have to ask yourself, what did he actually do? What did he actually do? like like the nitty gritty, the rolling your sleeves up and actually getting involved rather than telling people what to do. Telling people what to do is really easy. I can do it all day long without breaking a sweat. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say because that's what's going to happen. Okay, the American economy is going to tank if they're going to do it, and the Australian economy will also tank, and the global economy, as a result, will tank, and not a single job will make it back to the States, right? And the problem is, and I've said this before, that we are too globally fixated. Okay, I'm only going to spend another couple of minutes on this, then we'll talk about something else. But as COVID happened, and Dave and I have said this many, many times, there was a golden chance to localize supply chains, manufacturing, etc. Bring it back in country. It would have made perfect sense because, hey, supply chains were completely destroyed during COVID. Everything shut down. No planes, nothing. Nobody. All the borders were shut. If it wasn't in the country, you're not going to get it. Right? But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. If it had happened, that would have brought back manufacturing jobs to Australia, to Europe, to America, or wherever. That would have done it. Okay? If we get rid of the but companies, corporations, more to the point, are addicted to profit. There are two ways to make money. One, you make money. You sell stuff, you make stuff, you buy stuff, you enhance stuff. But essentially, it's very ad. You make money, that's called profit. That's good. Revenue leads to profit. Hopefully. That's one way to make money, by actually making money. The other way is to save cost. A lot of companies are so fixated on the cost saving that they've forgotten how to make money the old-fashioned way. By making money, right? You've seen it. It's nuts. And look, it's across all industries. Every industry is driving costs down. Why? Well, because if I make something and I make it cheaper, I can make more money. I get more profit. There's, of course, a downside to this. I'm not going to bring it up. We're going to discuss this today. But that's what's happening. All the corporations, they have no interest in bringing jobs back. The corporations are praised for their civic mindedness, like employing native people, employing handicapped people, employing more women, employing whatever, like any particular group that is in the spotlight. The only reason that they employ people like that is because there's usually a government grant or some kind of favorable government conditions attached to it. And if you're looking for a government contract and you don't do any of those things I just mentioned, you're not in the running for it. And the government is one of the biggest spenders on the planet. Any government, all the governments together, they spend a lot of money because that's our money, the tax money, and there it goes. But you can't compete for that money unless you have these programs, special programs for special people. Look what we do for these special people here. They're all part of our, community. If that didn't exist, corporations wouldn't hire a single of these people. Not one. Not one. It wouldn't happen. It's cynicism at its best. It sickens me whenever I see it or hear it or read about it. Because I know the truth. I know what's behind it. It's a complete fabrication. The only reason it exists is because there's a reward. That's how it is. But Dave, you wanted to talk about the recession. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I wanted to come off the back of your comment about Trump not doing anything and blah 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 and hiring people, because I'm in the boat where I'm applying for roles, and I had a discussion with a recruiter today who wanted the exact opposite. At one point they said, I don't want to know what you did in the past. I go, he mentioned cybersecurity, and I said I was a white hat hacker at one point in the early days. What have you done for security? Firewalls. I've built them. I've configured them. I've migrated them personally with hands-on. What about switches and routers? Yeah, I've done networking. I've done server, desktop. I've done everything. So, what about cloud? Yeah, well, I've designed some things, and I can't talk about it because who I work for, and they're in the cloud. Sure, I've done that. And he goes, well, I really don't care about what you've done. What are you going to do? How are
What?
you? Yeah, the complete pork chop. I'm just going to say it. So all the roles that I've done were irrelevant to this person. And so, what are you looking for? Oh, let's go with head of architecture then. I say, enterprise architect or principal enterprise architect. Let's do those. But ultimately, I want to run a team. I want to build a team, and grow their knowledge and pass on what I know to them. I want to do that and be successful, but I want to run and efficiently. I want to be able to provide, shrinking footprints for companies. I want to be and all they wanted to do was, instead of say, are you looking for these kind of roles? Like multiple choice? These were open questions. So I spoke to an open question with a long answer. You pick what you want from what I've said. If you want a specific answer, ask a specific closed question, and yes or no, and I'll say yes or no. But you've got my resume. You've looked at my LinkedIn already. Got a Seek profile. You're calling me, so are you going to put my name forward for the role?
Oh, so this is someone that called you.
They called me.
It doesn't make any sense, Dave.
I don't even care anymore. I've completely lost interest. I've lost interest to the point where I don't believe any of the roles are real. Oh, you know this story, so I don't need to go into it. But to artificially hold up an economy that is absolutely dying is what I think the entire thing is around. Now I've got a macrobusiness.com.au link here. I've put it into the chat room. Mackie, you've got a copy. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put all the links that I show on screen. They'll all be in the comments, so you can have a look. And the household disposable income from it says suffering the worst decline in living standards since the 1950s, with the fall in real disposable income eclipsing those of the last four major recessions, including the 1970s inflation crisis and the COVID pandemic. We're in a worse situation now than we were before. Ever.
Yeah. Remember the recession we had to have?
It's even worse than that.
1990s one.
Yeah,
and that looks a lot better.
It does. I prefer to be in that one. At least, you could get interest off your savings. But what this is, we've got a per capita GDP, productivity and immigration graph in that link I sent you. And the crossover, it's a crossover graph. One thing goes down and the other one goes up. And what's going up is migration. It's we're only talking a 3% differential at all on one side of the graph and a 1.2% on the other. These aren't big. If this graph was showing 100%, it would just be three flat lines and you couldn't distinguish between them. but because there's only 1.2% on the right hand side for the immigration there, it's a different kind of view.
So I've studied economics, much to my shame.
Chagrin, yeah.
But well, chagrin too, but definitely shame. But that graph, which is the per capita GDP productivity immigration. So you've got 3 lines.
Yep.
One is per GDP, gross domestic product. One is productivity overall, and then it's immigration.
Yes.
Immigration is on the up and up, and the other two, both GDP and productivity, are on decline. Now, any economist will tell you that is impossible, right? Because as immigration goes up, because more money, the idea is that it's more influx of capital into the economy with the immigrants. Right? As you have more immigration, more and more people come, more and more jobs are created. It's just a function of population growth, if you will, plus skills, plus money that they bring in, plus immigrants usually work harder, work more, buy houses, etc., etc. Now, this is clearly not the case in this graph. This graph is the exact opposite, where immigration is on the up, and both GDP and productivity are declining sharply. Now, what that means is that our productivity is not keeping up with the influx of money. What that means is that things will get more expensive. Because the only time you have inflation is if your productivity is not keeping up with demand. So if I've got 10 people wanting to buy 10 houses, that's good. That's a great economy. My productivity is in line with my demand. That's wonderful. I have deflation. If I've got 10 houses, only 5 people want to buy. Right? Houses will get cheaper. There's only 5 people wanting to buy 10 houses, right? So I'm now competing for the buyer. It's a buyer's market. What we're seeing is the opposite. We're having 10 houses and 100 people wanting to buy. Right? So prices go up. Right? At the same time as productivity declines. It's actually insane. What we're seeing is chaos economics. And the government is still refusing to step in and do the right thing.
That's right.
Fix the prices for staples at the very least, for crying out loud, for the love of God and Christ and all
would
children
someone
in the
do
world.
something?
Someone please
help me,
children.
Jeebus. Yeah.
Because it's insane. You cannot. This can't go on. If it goes on, we will go into a depression.
That's right.
Not a recession, a depression. And at that point, it's good night. Thank you very much. The people that are at the bottom will never ever come out again.
That's right.
Just not gonna happen.
I was telling my kids who have never understood anything, because they're 3 generations away from the last time we had a depression, and I said, because I learned from my grandmother who lived through it, and she said there were a queue to get jobs at companies that were willing to employ anybody for a role, and they would queue around the block, sleep there overnight, and they'd only take 10 people in out of thousands. And if you got the work that day, you can't get work tomorrow there, because the queue is already longer than the tomorrow's amount of people they're going to employ. So forget it. It's nonsense. So what these graphs continue to say. So I was telling my kids about that, and they're like, "Really?" And you go, "Oh yeah, it was a thing." They're talking about investment net of depreciation. Also, they've got 2 more graphs lower than that one, and it shows the public and private gross fixed capital dropping out of the market. It's just crazy how far it continues to fall.
At some point, and this is the worry, right? There will be bread lines.
I'm already getting food from the food bank, Mickey.
Well, no, but I think
I know what bread lines is, or are, yes.
it's a little. I mean, red light is usually for people that don't even have anywhere to live, right?
That's right. It's like a soup
And
kitchen.
yeah, completely. And we're moving because I go to the city, especially the city. I mean, Sydney, it's not huge. Sydney is not huge compared to New York or London. It's big, but not huge. In fact, all of it would probably fit into Central Park, but it's big enough, and there are a lot of homeless people there already, and they know they're real homeless people. They're not just shipped in every morning to beg,
No,
like
right.
we had that problem. Because they've built nests, they've built
Yes.
permanent, or well, not permanent,
And
they've
you can
built
tell you're coming up
semi-permanent
on them.
structures. Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's a lot.
I don't
of
want to say it out loud.
No, look, it's unfortunately
Good morning to
functional
those
how they
in the
live.
US that are listening to this while they have breakfast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Look, it's a function of how they live and where they live. I mean, hygiene is not necessarily top of mind, but that's not their fault. And it's really, it used to be that homeless people were, not that prevalent. Now, though, it's shocking. And I remember pre-COVID, I went to San Francisco. It was dreadful then. I can't imagine what it's like now. It was
mm-hmm.
horrible.
Yeah, 100%.
And still, we insist on letting the profiteering, the obscene profits continue. It's okay, yeah, sure. No, it really isn't. I mean, it's. I don't, Dave. I'm at a loss at this point to explain to anyone why we haven't stepped in, except of course callousness, complete disregard. Now I know Putin doesn't care about his people. I know this.
Mm-hmm.
I know most leaders don't care about their people. Netanyahu doesn't give a hoot about his people. That doesn't care. Cares about himself. Putin cares about himself. They care about themselves. Yeah, I get that. None of the leaders care about their people. Full stop. That's the statement I'm making. That's an absolute truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they did, we wouldn't be where we are now and experiencing the things. But then we talk about nuclear war now.
That's right.
We're actually seriously talking about nuclear war. It's not a thing. And you're right. Those scientists of the atomic bulletin people, they're just behind the
They're
eight ball.
sitting on their hands. That's right.
I don't know what they're doing.
They're having a meeting, Becky, to decide what they're going to call the next meeting title. So,
who's organizing the coffee? that's Bob.
Where's my bagel? Where's my bagel?
That sounds like it.
A Danish. No, that was
Where's
Ken Brockman. Ken Brockman. Where's my Danish? Someone ate my Danish.
That's BS. That's total BS. Oh, here it is.
So to make matters worse in Australia, I'm sorry, I know you went global with it. I know I wanted to say that the Ukraine has now put the females into battle. They've now got full female platoons getting trained up because there's not very many men anymore. So they just put the females out there and see what happens. I'm not sure if that's a call, a mercy call to the world to run that story, because probably is. But here in Australia, the party that's currently in, who's going to be probably elected out in a couple of months' time, they've just passed a shared equity to help buy housing scheme, where the government puts money in, but is kind of a co-owner of the property.
Okay.
The ownership,
I saw that. No.
The ownership is extremely questionable, and it reeks of WEF, doesn't it?
Oh, of course.
Of Great Reset.
What is? I mean, if the government already has a stake in your house, so this is not the bank, but the government already has a stake in your house, and something happens, the government says, you know what, clearly you can't afford to pay this. You know what? You can stay here. You can stay and live here. It's all good. I'm just going to take the house.
Pay out the loan, and you get a wage now. Because we own equity now, right? Yeah, you live there. Yeah,
it's all good.
It makes the transition a hell of a lot easier. Let me put it that way. Doesn't it?
You know it. No,
See, I
no.
was completely shocked by what this would make, how easy the transition is to the
Oh,
Great Reset. Once this is in, and it's in now, it's going to be there, and wow, I
oh,
haven't shared the screen, but I'm just going to say it's real, and it happened today. The last sitting week of Parliament this year is this week. So,
it's look.
wow.
People like Dave and I, we are Gen Xers. We run none of that. Right?
No.
And so I'm just going to go ahead and do what I do and not worry about it. But the younger generation, especially people that have no chance of ever buying a house in Australia, which is such a shock to the system, really. Because that was the thing. Only 30 years ago. Well, 30 years sounds like a long time. It's not really. It's not really.
Not really.
30 years. And I know. I remember this very clearly. All the suburbs around Sydney, Western, Eastern, Northern, doesn't really matter, right? Or Southern. All the suburbs were essentially one-family homes. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, there were apartment buildings, but not really high-rises per se, like 30 years ago. I mean, apartment buildings, sure, they exist. Don't get me wrong, right? But the vast majority, I mean, vast majority of dwellings that were in the Sydney suburban areas were, one or two family homes. That's it. That's what they were. Now they're all being torn down and either being subdivided into two terrace houses,
Yep.
or
Triplexes. Yep.
or turned into apartment buildings. There's some rezoning, etc. So that's the thing.
That quarter-acre block makes a great high-rise.
Yeah, absolutely. And the heights that these back then, it's funny because I'm actually living at the highest point between Sydney and the Blue Mountains.
Yes.
So I can on a clear day I see the city, I see the bridge, and I can see the Blue Mountains the other way.
Yeah.
Now, when we first moved there, you could argue, there's Chatswood and there's Parramatta, and then there's the city, and you can see the high rises sticking out. So you get the landmarks, right? And I remember how many there were. I've been living in my home here now. This is 2024, about 15 years. Let's say 15 years, for argument's sake, right? And the amount of high rises that have sprung up, it's really like mushrooms. They just kept popping up, and it's a completely different view now that I have from my little, not mountaintop. Think of it as a tall hill, right? It's not a mountaintop. But yeah, it was quite something. I'll be honest. I go, wow, and they're doing more and more, and they're building more and more high rises because they want renters.
Yeah.
Renting is because in Europe, renters have a lot of power because it's a renting. They've been renting forever, right? And owning a home was really not unusual, but it wasn't as common as you would expect. Renting was a lot more, and long-term renting, generational renting was the same place, and they're protected quite significantly. I want to say, right? They're really protected by the laws, and as a renter, you can do whatever you want to the house. You can do whatever you like. You can paint it, you can drill holes, and good luck trying to do that in a rental property in Australia.
No, that's right.
It's just that it doesn't happen. But that's where we are, right? And we have no renting. I mean, right now we're trying to figure out the rental laws, Dave. You've seen what's happening in Queensland, New South Wales. More protection renters, this and that. You can't unreasonably raise your rent. There aren't any legal limitations as to how much you can raise your rent. Not really. You can ask what they want. I mean, if somebody pays for it, you can ask whatever you like.
I've seen the bid process now for renting.
Oh, brother. Yeah.
You wait till it's it's an envelope based.
Sure.
Where you submit the price you're willing to pay, and they can choose whichever one they want. That hasn't happened yet.
No. And
no.
But are we far from it? I don't know.
Not really.
In fact, how would you stop it? I mean, how could you police hundreds of thousands of transactions Because that's how many there are, in
Yeah.
Australia. You can't police it. It's impossible. I mean, you might get, if there's a law against it, one day or maybe up and coming, there will be people that catch here and there, big whoopty. Because for the most part, they won't catch you, and it'll be just what happens. They won't catch you. Here, there, this person, that person. Yeah, okay. But most people will not get caught, and that's just what will happen, and people will fall into two categories going forward. There'll be two categories of people. One will be property owners, and the others will be property renters. That's it. That's how we will divide our society. And that's for people that are still in luck. The other category of person, of course, is then the person that's homeless altogether.
Yes, that's true.
And that'll happen. And that's getting a bigger and bigger group. You'd be surprised how many people. Look, I don't know where you are, which countries you're sitting in, whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's a few people in the States, in Australia, but elsewhere in the world, I'm sure there are listeners as well. Just go and find out for yourself. Have a look how many people are homeless in your city, in your neighborhood. I think the number will shock you. I really do. I think it'll be shocking them. What do we do about it?
Well, it's many more than it's ever been.
Yeah, we do nothing about it.
No, I know.
Nothing. Because no one cares. No one cares. Not really. The Greens don't care. They just care about scoring political points. Right? Because none of their suggestions are feasible.
No, that's totally right.
I mean, look, if we did what the Greens wanted, the bottom would drop out of the economy, and that doesn't help anyone. But no one else. It's interesting.
But the Greens would be happy, and that's all that matters. It's funny, Mickey, that this is where we are. The independents, like I say, I've always been in favour of, rather than two-party, and then you call it independence, or teal in Australia, we call it teal. Mm-hmm. So, the red and the blue and then teal. So they could be anything. They're really shown as grey on the map, but, what are you going to do? I thought, and commit to this, I commit to this idea, that simply having a council-styled governance where you only sit for a year and then that's the end, you don't get another one, but because you stagger them, you only introduce maybe one new person or however many people into, say, like, not hundreds, you never get anything done. There's too many people. Mm-hmm. So you need the stability of a long view to make the correct course changes. Because at the moment they're making steering corrections, but the vehicle's going so slow that the corrections can be 180 degrees to where you should be going, because it's only for today. And the amount of spend that a government has going forward, if you're looking at the projections of your tax income that you need to distribute to pay for everything, and those services aren't free, Mackie. Like the doctors, the nurses, orderlies, just running of a hospital. That's one thing, but you have policing as well. The roads, they're not cheap. So with all the things that you need to run and all the pay rises people are getting now have been arranged in this current 3-year period, you can't, with the same money going forward, afford what you could in the last 3 years. Because now you're paying much more. If you do it a budget, you're paying much more for the wages, for the operation of the idea, to work. However, you are now spending way more on wages. What is your outcome? Well, it's providing less. That's all we can do. We can only provide less. There's no efficiency. And there's the whole idea with the Department of Government Efficiency, I think, is a great idea. And I wait with bated breath to see if that's going to do anything. But it kills me that governments, every time there's an election, promise tax cuts, which is just cutting their own legs off. How are they going to pay for the things they've promised you because things are more expensive and perpetually more expensive? So how is that all meant to happen? We have, as people, we have so many leeches in our pocket taking all our money away from us. Individually. Thinking about all the things that you might have a monthly subscription to.
Mm-hmm.
Just for instance. It's unbelievable. My dad was trying to tell me, oh, in my day, we paid the water rates and the electricity bill, this is the services, and we had a loan to pay. We bought food. I said, $20, Dad, would fill a trolley up.
Yeah.
What do we do now? Where is all the money? Where is all the money that all these people earned? And now I think there's a bunch of new unemployed people out there, and there is less and less income vectors now for the government, and I can't see a way out of it if they continue to promise more spending and less taxes. It doesn't make any sense. I discovered that we have $3 trillion in debt, and $1 trillion of that was borrowed, magically invented during COVID.
Yeah.
So we only owed $2 trillion, and then COVID came, and they borrowed $1 trillion just in case, we don't know what's going to happen. And then that's a 50% increase. It was $2 trillion. They increased it by $1 trillion. Now it's 3. So I'm beside myself with anger. They didn't spend it. Now suddenly it's all being spent on military, because no one can smell out some money in someone's pocket better than the military-industrial complex. Let me tell you that. And where are we? We're scraping the barrel trying to find food for ourselves, and the biggest retailers of food, or groceries, let's call them groceries, in Australia are untouchable. Oh, we've put policies in place now. Yeah, but you see, they can still bankrupt small suppliers by ordering. This is, I found out this the other day. They order, we want 500,000 apples, and then when it comes that they pre-order them, and then when it comes around to the delivery, they go, oh, we only want 1 million. Yeah, that's all we want now. Just 1 million. We wanted 5 million before, but it's 1 million now. Have you seen your apples? We only want 1 million. So the market, it's like, well, all the labour it cost us to produce them, and you only want 1/5? We can't keep doing this. And then they screw them for price. It's repulsive. So my idea is to fix it. We put an agency between the two. Don't let any producer sell directly to anybody at all, like we do with the Australian Wheat Board. Just do the same thing with all the primary producers. And therefore, the price is the sticker price on the website at the whatever you want to call it, AGB, Australian Groceries Board. Do the same thing. That way that we've now protected the producers. The prices will go up initially, but then be stable, because the orderable quantities can't change. You order it, you're going to get those, and you're going to pay for those, and that's all going to be done in advance. Right? It's the process around it that screws the poor producer to the ground, to bankruptcy, and then they're, it's like Gladiator, right? The TV show. So they're on the ropes, about to fall off the precipice, and they go, "Oh, what if you give me some of those things for free? We'll let you go." And now they've cut the price, they've bent over. All they want to do is keep their business running, and I'll agree to any deal at all. Sure, it's a good haggling method, but to what is the cost of the destruction of our own, food bowl? It makes no sense to do this to anybody. And of course, that cheap price they've bought them from is not passed on to the consumer at all, and it's a complete rort. It's like fuel. That's a rort. I know, because I've got to pay that now with a really limited resources, and I'm seeing how at the beginning of this, they call it a cycle. I don't know if you have this in the US. In Australia, we have these fuel price cycles. In New South Wales, in the state that Mackie and I live in, Tuesday is the cheap day to fill up, and it just keeps climbing to the weekend, and then after the weekend it starts dipping down to where they get new fuel on the Tuesday. And that's been a thing that's been forever, right? In Queensland, it's a 4-week cycle. They're completely screwed for a whole month. 4-week cycle. You've got to fill up your car at least once a week. And it's crazy. It's more than $100 to fill my car up.
It's profiteering. I'm sorry, but it's very simply put. It's profiteering, and profiteering is the lowest form of enterprise that I can think of. No, it is.
Totally.
It's I don't know. It's abuse. It's abuse of the customer. I mean, there's the social. We all live in a society here, right? And there's a social contract that we all have with each other. We don't know it, but we do have it. And the contract is really simple, right? For the most part, I leave you alone, you leave me alone. We help each other when we can. I'm expected to do certain things, like drive in a way that doesn't endanger anyone, and we meant to do the same thing. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that is unspoken in the social contract that we all have. Some of it is ratified by laws, but the other one is that you don't profiteer. You can take advantage of people. That happens, right? But you don't do it to the point of extortion.
Yeah.
You don't to the point. And extortion is this is what I mean, Dave. Sorry, just one.
I know what it is.
Then I throw it to you. But extortion is when I have to decide whether I'm going to heat my home or cool my home or eat.
Yeah.
Pay my mortgage or eat. Or pay for the water.
You're on the ropes at that point.
Yeah. Or pay for my kids' school. That's extortion.
Yeah.
That's where we are. Like that's yeah. I mean, that's just shocking.
So I've written statements of work, for large projects, and they're 7 figures. So that's good. But when you've worked very hard on it as a person that's your industry, you've costed the entire project, and it's all good. And when you present it internally, I'm not going to say the result of this, but someone goes, "Oh, can't you just put some more points on it?" That means, worker calculation. It's the same as if you go into a shop and they look at your shoes and your clothes, and there's nothing with a price tag in the store, and they charge you appropriately to how you look, to how much money they think you've got to spend, rather than the actual value of the product. Yeah, so I didn't add the points onto it, which is a percentage to increase it on. I didn't, and it got through, and it was accepted, and it went on budget and on time. So very, very happy with that. But I stuck to my guns. It's like, I don't see a reason why we need to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. So, look, if that is the way that business runs, and a totally successful business runs, then it's upsetting to me that they should be doing that. I'm annoyingly honest, and I find it difficult in our environment. Though I know it's the money game, Becky. I'm coming clean here. I understand it's the money game. If I was taught that we were living in the money game and that the best way to succeed is do the least, act absolutely. What's the nicest, kindest way I can put this? Don't be any threat to your boss at all.
Yeah.
Commercially, don't be a threat. You'll get to the top. You'll get to the top of business, because the people who are at the top don't want to be threatened by your intelligence. They want you to be a safe, predictable person who will cower under their great and immense power within the business. That's all they want.
Oh yeah.
They don't care. I've seen incompetence just go by the wayside. No one cares. It really hurts me on the inside, Mackie, and I'm sure that's a fault of mine. It's all me. It's all my problem.
Sure it is.
But this is happening globally, right? This is most companies. I don't think there's one that doesn't operate in the same way. And look, I'm happy to take comments in the bottom of this video. Please, don't have to tell me your own story. But do you agree? I hope you do. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share it. I know I'm going to get hate. I always get hate. Mackie and I share the hate, depending on what we've said during our videos. But look, it's an extraordinary place, extraordinary time. I don't think we've been anywhere near this in history. Mackie, I saw that Elon Musk is floating the idea that he could buy NBC.
Well, good luck.
Good luck to him. Yeah, totally. I just think I don't know what he'd do with it. If it's going to just end up being propaganda TV, I don't know. Or does he just get to fire the people that he never liked and then sell it? I don't know.
I mean, if you can, I mean, like by all means, if that's how you do things, it's all right. It's all right.
Well, CNN have got running a mean photo of Musk on the story. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say was, if you're living in California and you enjoy drinking raw milk, so that's non-pasteurized milk, be careful. This is also a CNN story, but I did see this in mainstream. Not just what did Trump call them? Fake news. So they've detected bird flu in the raw milk.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's not so good.
Yeah, it's not fantastic, but look, you should always be aware of what you're consuming and be careful. I know people use the raw milk to make cheese at home, so that's what we've done before. Bit of rennet, and then just drain off the whey. It's pretty easy.
Oh, it's okay, cheese milk. I mean, you do have to do with raw milk, obviously. Otherwise, you get no joy from this.
No joy.
It's not cheese. It's what you're making there. But look, everything is changing. Because everything is being produced at an industrial scale, Dave. Mm-hmm. Everything is industrialized, meaning big. And the thing is this, the bigger it is, the more money you can get out of it. The faster a cow or a chicken grows, the faster you can sell it. So you pump full of steroids and growth hormones and all kinds of things. Funnily enough, we have to pay more for things that haven't been touched. And that's the music. Hey, thank you so much for listening to Platos Cave. We're going to come back to you on Thursday. And don't go anywhere. Something's coming up. But most of all, Dave,
be safe.